You know, it turns out it's actually quite fun to debunk people who make videos that bash modern art while saying some of the most nonsensical things I have ever heard. Add that with the fact there's a PragerU video where exactly this happens, and I believe it is time for a commentary. I'm just going to open this by showing you all the part of the video where this person admits to being dishonest.
Here's a test I give my graduate students, all talented and well-educated. Please analyze this Jackson Pollock painting and explain why it is good. It is only after they give very eloquent answers that I inform them that the painting is actually a close-up of my studio apron. I don't blame them. I would probably have done the same, since it's nearly impossible to differentiate between the two.
I probably would have done the same because in this example, a person who I believe is an authority just fucking lied to me. Remember, he didn't ask these students to, for example, tell the difference between this and a real Jackson Pollock painting, or ask them if it's on the same quality level as a Jackson Pollock painting and why they think that. He directly told them this was a Jackson Pollock painting and to explain why it's so good, despite it not even being a Jackson Pollock painting. Seriously, what were you expecting to happen?
Damn it, this is too hard! Here's what I think of your test, Mr. Teacher!
You just stood up to me. Congratulations. That was the test.
And I also want to point out how he says this after saying the following.
Without aesthetic standards, we have no way to determine quality or inferiority.
But aesthetic standards aren't the problem in the situation you described. It was somebody in a position of power, that being you, misleading a bunch of students. And the very next words out of his mouth are defending the idea of objective standards in art by giving this incredibly bizarre example.
And who will determine quality is another challenge I'm given. If we are to be intellectually honest, we all know of situations where professional expertise is acknowledged and depended upon. Take figure skating in the Olympics, where artistic excellence is judged by experts in the field. Surely we would flinch at the contestant who indiscriminately threw himself across the ice and demanded that his routine be accepted as being as worthy of value as that of the most disciplined skater.
So, quick question, if there really is no amount of subjectivity that factors into these scores, as I assume you're implying, then why are there 6 judges? Shouldn't there be only one who can give the objectively correct score? And why are their scores so radically different, ranging from a 3.5 to a 5.5? Fuck, even in your example of an objectively bad figure skater, there clearly was at least a little disagreement over just how bad they were, given one judge decided to give them a 0.5. If there really is an objective standard here, shouldn't they all be uniform? Again, going back to my earlier question of why there's more than one judge to begin with. Also, after this video came out, the evidence of bias among judges in figure skating became incredibly overwhelming, and although I'm not holding it against this guy for not knowing that, again, this was years after the fact, it does show that his example is not a very good one.
The Mona Lisa, the Pietà, the girl with a pearl earring. For a score of centuries, artists enriched Western society with their works of astonishing beauty.
I find it amusing that you use the Mona Lisa as your first example. Genuinely, the first 3 words of the video are the Mona Lisa, given this graph from later in the video. Now, this graph doesn't make any sense. It treats standards as if they're something that can be quantified, and its peaks and valleys are completely arbitrary. But what I find amusing is it's only after artistic standards started to decline, at least according to this bizarre graph, that anybody began to give a shit about the Mona Lisa. Adam Ruins Everything did a segment on this a few years back, but essentially, nobody gave a shit about the Mona Lisa until it was stolen in 1911. Before that point, it was so unknown that when it was originally stolen, it took over a day for the art gallery it was displayed in to even realize it was gone. Girl with a Pearl Earring is an even worse example, by the way, because that piece of art didn't become famous until the end of the 20th century. You know, when there weren't any artistic standards anymore. And the artist who made it wasn't even universally known in the art world until around the 19th century. For reference, the painting being talked about was made in 1665.
How can art be objectively measured? I'm challenged. In responding, I simply point to the artistic results produced by universal standards compared to what is produced by relativism. The former gave the world the birth of Venus and the dying Gaul, while the latter has given us the Holy Virgin Mary, fashioned with cow dung and pornographic images, and Petra, the prize-winning sculpture of a policewoman squatting and urinating, complete with a puddle of synthetic urine.
Okay, first off, what you're doing is cherry picking. You're using specific examples that prove your point while ignoring ones that wouldn't. You can find bad art from back then, and you can find good art from today. However, let's seriously analyze the argument being made. Artistic relativism isn't true because, in your subjective opinion, art made without that mindset is better than art made with that mindset. However, that doesn't debunk the notion in of itself. And furthermore, a relativist could very well just respond by calling your view entirely subjective. Because it is. It's your opinion. I'm not even saying I disagree with your opinion, but at the end of the day, that still would be just an opinion.
By the way, the white background you see behind me is not simply a white graphic backdrop. It is a pure white painting by noted artist Robert Rauschenberg at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art.
You know, Vox has a really good video about how art like this came about, essentially as the result of artists rejecting abstract expressionism. This led to them creating minimalism in protest, and this is just the greatest example of minimalism that exists. Abstract expressionism, for those unaware, is essentially the idea that art exists to express how somebody feels above all else. You know, the same notion you said led to the end of artistic standards in this very video, and yet you're mixing and mashing both people who held that view and critics of that view. And if that doesn't say everything you need to know about this guy, I don't know what will. Good night, and good luck.